Good morning.
Good morning.
Today is 5 July, the year 2018. I'm Dr. Dave Thompson, a volunteer at the Palm Springs Air Museum here in Palm Springs, California. As part of the Veterans History Project of the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C., we conduct interviews of veterans and civilians who participated in our country's military conflicts, especially World War II. Today, I'm here at the museum along with fellow volunteer Diane Thompson and special guest Joan Martin. And today we have the honor and the privilege of hearing the story of Mr. Joe Martin. Mr. Martin was granted conscientious objector status by the U.S. government and performed alternate service in the Forestry Service during World War II. So we're going to talk to him about that and a lot of other things. Joe, so good to have you here. Okay, Joe, would you please state and spell your full name for us?
Joseph Martin.
Okay, and when were you born?
1922.
1922. What month and day?
I was in April 12th.
April 12th. So that makes you how many years young now?
I don't know. I lost count.
Getting close to 96? 96. Okay. Well, you look great. Yeah. And where were you born?
New York City.
Okay. And what was your father's name?
Same.
Joe. Oh, J. Martin. And
I'm a junior.
Okay. What did he do, your dad?
He was a bookkeeper.
Okay. For a company?
An accountant bookkeeper.
Mm-hmm. And his ancestors, where in the old country did they all come from?
Did he come from? Southern Spain.
Oh.
I've forgotten the name of the country, or the state where he was born.
Okay, Martin, was it a different name?
No, it was Martin.
Martin, okay. Yeah. So he came, did he come, do you know when he came to the United States?
1916.
Okay. Was there unrest over there, or why did he
I have no idea.
Okay. And did he go to college? Is that how he became an accountant?
I don't know. Colleges was a thing in those days.
Right. And your mom, what was her name and her maiden name?
Angela.
I'm sorry, what?
Angela. That was my mother's first name. Angel in English.
Oh, oh, and hell. Okay. Was she Spanish as well?
Yes.
Oh. Did she come from Spain?
No. She was actually born in this country.
Okay. And did you have any brothers and sisters?
I have one brother.
What's his name?
Pardon me?
What is his name?
Ralph.
Is he still alive?
Yes.
Okay. Where does he live?
He lives in La Cañada.
Okay. So when you were right in New York City, what street did you live on?
No. Yes, Stubbins Avenue.
Okay. And what did you kids do for fun when you were growing up?
Pardon me?
What did you kids do for fun when you were growing up?
Same as we did. Same garbage. I played out in the street and so on.
Stickball?
Pardon me?
Did you play stickball?
Yeah, stickball.
Stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Was your family very religious? Did you go to church a lot when you were? Was your family?
No.
No. Okay. All right.
No, we actually were more philosophical in outlook than in religion.
Okay. And where did you go to grade school?
Oh, God. Where? I guess it was in the Bronx in New York.
Yeah. Did you follow any of the baseball teams or the sports teams?
It's too long ago for me to even know.
Didn't pay attention.
But I doubt it.
What were you interested in mostly when you were a kid?
I can hardly hear you.
Okay, I tell you what, let me move up a little bit closer. How about that? And let me move this over out of the way. When you were a kid, what was your main interest? What were you interested in? Did you play music or do anything like that, or what did you like to do?
I did a lot of reading. I was not in a musical family, philosophical family.
Okay. Now you grew up during the Depression, I believe. What was that like for you and your family?
Well, we didn't have anything. That simple.
Was your father able to work during the Depression?
Oh yes, my father worked throughout the entire Depression. Fortunately for me.
And the neighborhood you lived in, was it kind of ethnic? Were there all different kinds of people that lived in your neighborhood?
It was multi, yeah. Multi-ethnic. What's the word?
Diversified? There are a lot of different
It's
kinds.
a lot diversified.
Okay. And you all got along pretty good?
Oh yeah.
Where did you go to high school?
In the Bronx.
Okay. Do you remember the name of the high school?
Morris High.
Morris? M-O-R-R-I-S?
Morris, M-O-R-R-I-S.
Okay. High school. And did your father have a car? Did you all?
No, we didn't have cars in those days.
Yeah.
Public transportation was at its peak.
Did you, was there a movie theater in the area where you lived?
Several.
Which one did you go to or you liked the best?
Oh, I have no memory of it.
Okay. So what year did you graduate from high school then?
What year did I graduate from high school?
Around 1940?
Yeah, that sounds around
1940, yeah.
1940.
Okay. And do you remember any of your teachers from high school that you liked?
Yeah, one in particular. Man.
What did he teach?
He taught English, I think.
So when you like to read, well, you said you like philosophy. Did you read philosophy type books or
Philosophical books. You know, different religions, etc.
Pathfinders.
I'm sorry, what?
Ask about Pathfinders.
Pathfinders?
Well, Pathfinders is a group I belong to.
Okay.
We're a group of young people who went out to the parks and enjoyed nature.
You did that when you were in New York?
Yeah.
When you were a kid? Did you have a special girlfriend in high school?
I had a special girlfriend. I probably did, but I can't remember.
Okay. So after you graduated from high school, what did you do in 1940?
I went to work.
By the way, did you have any odd jobs when you were growing up?
No. I don't remember any.
Okay, so where did you go to work then?
God, you're asking me to remember things that went 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh. I really don't remember.
Okay.
I don't get to talk.
Excuse me. Yeah, okay. Now, one thing I will ask you, do you remember where you were December 7th, 1941, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor?
Well, exactly where I was, I have no idea.
But you remember when it happened?
Oh, yeah.
So
That was a big day.
what did you think about it?
What did I think about it? I was totally surprised.
You couldn't see something like that coming.
I didn't see anything like that coming.
So then you were drafted pretty soon, right?
Yes,
And then what?
I was put in a CO camp, conscientious objectors camp, where we worked in the forest.
And you applied for that status. You applied to be a conscientious objector, or what you were. And okay. Why were you a conscientious objector?
That was my belief. I don't believe people should shoot one another
Under any circumstance?
under any circumstance.
Okay. And so you went to a camp out in the forest, correct? And so what kind of work did you do out there?
We were in the forest, maintained and made sure that we replaced dying trees and so on and on.
How many guys were in your camp about?
I don't know. At this point, I don't remember how many, but there must have been at least 25 to 30.
I have 120.
120, okay, maybe 120, all right. And was that all around New York where those forests were?
No, they came from all various parts.
No, but I mean, that's where your camp was in New York.
Right.
Were you in the same camp the whole time?
No. We were shifted around. I went to, there was a place, I was shipped from New York to some state, and then from there to California. And that's where I left service.
Okay, so now did you ever, while you were at that camp, did you get a chance to go home see your folks from time to time?
Yeah. It was hard because we didn't have any money, but we managed at least once a year.
Okay. Why don't you come on up here, Joan? Why don't you have a seat over there, it'll be fine. Huh? Yeah. So you have a little more detail. Did you want to add anything more to what we've been talking about here, Joan?
Well, a few notes along the way.
Yeah.
For the first 10 years of his life, his family were still Catholics, and he went to, what do you call a school that's religious?
A parochial school.
A parochial school. When he was 10, his mother read in the library about a philosophy called Theosophy, and she much preferred it. So she took him out of parochial school, just out in the middle of the year apparently, and put him in public school. And after that, the family was interested in Theosophy. And that was the basis of his
Philosophical outlook.
got the whole philosophical approach, which caused him to request CO status based on the teaching there that everything is one, all beings are one, and people's jobs are to, in thought and deed, be a brother. That was the basis for that.
Life was precious and not to be destroyed. That's simple.
In his teens, he was with the Theosophical Pathfinders, a youth group organization related to the philosophy, and he did that for a long time on Saturdays. They had a farm. They went to a farm and went into the forest as well. In his work with the Forest Service, there was a heavy emphasis on thinning trees, taking out dead trees. Forests do have to be thinned. Nature does it with fire, but they were doing it one by one. And he said he became very good with the two-edged axe. There's a name for it. What is that called?
Double axe.
Double?
Double-headed axe.
Strange to be giving people something that can injure them on the other side, but it lasts longer. You can change sides. In the north, in the east, that was the tool of choice. But when they came to California and Oregon, The trees were, in his words, humongous. And they became adept at a saw of some
Right,
kind. You've
yeah.
probably seen the kind.
Yes.
Double in there, double-edged one.
Double
Not double-edged.
No.
Two guys, two-man
man.
saw.
Two
Yeah.
man saw.
Right.
Trying to think. Oh,
But that can be pretty dangerous, those big trees, when they fall, if you don't do it the right
Well,
way.
you have to know what you're doing. Otherwise, you will be killed.
Yeah.
he was describing how he used his axe in the East. He would chop into the tree a little past halfway, and then go around to the other side and give it a good blow, and then it would fall nicely the way he wanted it.
Man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I know. Grew up on a farm, and we cut down trees too. And like you say, you had to cut it a certain way and a certain way so it would fall where you wanted it to. Not easy.
Well, that
True.
seemed to be mostly what they did. He did become a cook for part of his time in California. They moved across the country several times, changing camps. It's not clear to me why. Do you
It
remember
was a
why?
nice sightseeing.
But yet, so you could sightsee.
Sightsee. Yeah.
And he did become a cook part of the time, which he liked. And that was 120 men. I saw that written.
Okay.
When he was growing up as a teenager, the Depression was in full swing, and his father was temporarily unemployed. So he had to get a job carrying groceries home from a butcher shop and
It
a
was a
market.
grocery store.
Carrying them upstairs in these tenements.
I was strong as an ox.
Did you live in an apartment building when you?
Yes,
What floor did you live on?
top. Always the top.
There's one of the places they lived, we discovered when we were in New York just a few years ago, is still there, which is very strange. It's a 3-story house. We have a picture of it. They were on the 3rd floor in the rear. And on both sides, skyscrapers go up. And here's this little 3-story still there.
Wow.
That's
Oh my gosh.
It was an interesting house. Huh.
He remembers.
Actually, it was made up of 3 apartments. And I was living on the top floor.
Well, your brother was younger than you? What?
7 years.
7 years.
Considerable.
He too was a CO,
Oh, really?
because then there was another conflict, whatever it was.
Oh, Korea.
Must have been Korea.
Yeah. Did he go in the Forestry Service?
You know,
too?
I don't think so. I'm not sure how they handled them then. But I didn't hear.
Yes, I went into the forest.
No, your brother went.
Oh, no.
No, he didn't.
My brother was not involved in that nonsense.
I'm not sure how that worked
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
Just some things that I'm remembering him saying. before.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, I figured there was more to it than we had talked about. So then, what did he do, or what did you do when you got out of the
Service?
Yeah.
And you're asking me to remember way back. What did I do?
It was California.
I
You were-
haven't the slightest idea. All I know is I had work.
And you were in California, right?
Yes.
You came to Los Angeles, where you had made connection with the lodge, the Theosophical
Yeah.
Lodge, and that's where you wanted to go, and that's where you stayed.
And that's what?
You stayed there. You came to live in Southern California and Los
Yes.
Angeles.
At that time.
Remember what you did for work, right?
I don't really remember.
You learned how to bind books with new.
Oh, well, that's right. I was a bookbinder.
Bookbinding.
As a matter of fact, I had a business with a shop and all.
It was a cooperative business with some of the COs and like-minded people. It was supposed to be a co-op, but they never made money. He was the only one who actually made money, he said.
I was the only one that made money.
The rest of it was a printing press.
Were you married at the time?
No. I didn't get married until when?
50, I think.
Oh, okay, so. But you were in Southern California when you got married.
Oh, yeah.
And did you have children?
Yeah, 3 of them.
What are their names?
Bruce. My God.
It'll come to you.
How can I forget?
It's the bright lights.
Huh?
Put your hat back on.
Yeah. Then you lose the top part of the face.
Bruce. Susan. Not Caroline.
No, but it sounds like it. Eloise.
Eloise.
Oh, okay. And where do they all live?
Then or now?
Now.
Oh, you know where they live now.
What?
You know where they live now, I think.
Yeah. I live in Southern California.
And
You want the specific place?
sure.
I have no idea.
You know it, but you didn't right there at the moment.
Okay.
Eloise was the first one. She lives in Playa del Rey, next to Venice.
Mhm.
Susan lives in San Diego, where his ex-wife also lives. And Bruce lives in Malibu.
Any grandchildren?
do you
What?
think? Yeah.
2.
And your first wife, what was her name and her maiden name?
Mira. Maiden name. The hell was her last name?
Gertson.
Kurtzen. She knows more about it than I do.
That's why she's here.
Well, I'm younger.
And so your wife, where did she grow up in Southern California? Did you meet her here in Southern California?
I met her in Southern California. I have no idea where she grew up.
New York.
New York, okay.
She was connected with the New York Lodge. Came
Oh,
out to
I
Los
see.
Angeles, and stayed for a while, and then they got married and went back to New York.
Man, she remembers more than I do.
You moved back to New York after you got married? Did you move back to New York?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. And do you remember did they live back there for quite a long time?
10 years, I think, during which time he had the other 2 of the 3 children.
In New York City, you lived? In New York City?
Yes. In the Bronx, actually.
When you were married to Mira?
When I was married
When you
to...
married to Mira, where did you live?
No, I lived in the city. New York, Los Angeles.
Oh, wait a minute, that's, they moved to Long Island and got a very small starter-upper house soon after he went back with his wife.
She remembers more than I do.
Okay. And now, were you in the bookbinding business back in New York also? Were you in the bookbinding business in New York?
Not in New York. It was Los Angeles.
So what did you do in New York?
Who remembers? Who cares?
Why did you go to New York with your family?
Joan, I don't remember.
Okay, well, they weren't giving him enough money at Cunningham Press, and he couldn't support his small family. So he went back to New York and took up his father-in-law's offer to learn the building business.
Huh, that's it.
He
Went into the building. Very lucrative.
on the job training with his father-in-law, and he went to school at night. So that is what he always did after that, both in New York, and then he moved to Palm Springs, by which time so had his father-in-law. So they built houses here too.
Really? Okay. So what was the name of the company?
Well, it was Mr. Gertson. I don't know if he even had.
I don't think we had a name.
No.
We just
However, what he did was, they.
When I was in business for myself, I was Joe Martin.
Yes. Later, he went into business for himself.
here in Palm Springs.
It was all in Palm Springs. He was here for years.
Did you? Where was your house in Palm Springs? Was your house in Palm Springs?
God, I don't know, it was.
He moved around to rentals in Palm Springs with his young family. He couldn't build a house, although that was his business, and they wanted to build a house because his father-in-law didn't want the kind of house he wanted to build, and he was a very strong man. So after his father-in-law died, he built a modern
She
house
remembers more than I do.
on sagebrush.
Sagebrush in Palm Springs?
Yeah.
Oh,
It was
okay.
always in Palm Springs. His father-in-law, with Joe's help, worked in an unusual way in the building industry. His father-in-law developed the Canyon Country Club.
Oh, yeah.
And that was leased land, and it was a brand new idea. And he put in some of what's now the most expensive homes in Palm Springs. Not then.
That was in the late 60s, early 70s?
It would have
Probably,
been.
because
it would have been
when I first came here, I rented a place in Canyon Country Club
City,
in
the
1970.
60s.
So it would have been
I was in the
60s.
60s.
Yeah.
We were there at the inception.
Yeah.
Did your father-in-law build the Canyon Hotel, or just the housing?
Well, no, he built the hotel. And
Did
then the disassociators.
I didn't know that. That was significant.
Yeah.
It can be pretty busy.
I bet you did, yeah. So the homes, now, it sounded like his father-in-law liked to build certain type of homes, and he wanted to build a different type of homes. Is that what I'm hearing? Or
No,
not
they
really?
were fine. They were quiet, little, easy, modern houses.
And the style of the day.
It was probably the mid-century modern with the big windows looking at the ocean so that the heat can really get you in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Around a pool, and they had and still do have a golf course
Yes, right.
there.
Yeah, they
When he went into business for himself, he was building, what do you call it when it's not a lot of homes at once? Each person would get him to build a particular house. That has a
It
name.
was custom built.
That's it, that's the word, custom houses.
do. Oh, yeah.
And then he did remodels as well, and he did that until he retired at 67.
Now, did the kids go to Palm Springs High School?
I think so.
His daughter finished there. The other daughter may have started there, but his wife took the children
San Diego.
and went to San Diego and remarried.
Oh, okay. The daughter that graduated, do you remember what year she graduated from Palm Springs High?
When did Eloise graduate? do
Or
you
what
think?
year was she
Oh,
born? You
my
can figure that
God.
out.
Born. That's in my
No.
purse. They're all in their 60s. His kids, he and his wife had 3 children in a 32-month period. 3 times 9 is 27. So that was intense.
Yeah.
Eloise,
Diane graduated from Palm Springs High in 1960. So
well,
she would have been-
Eloise is now 65, I think.
Well,
she would have been younger then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
She probably
75.
yeah.
Take 72, subtract 4 years. That's not going to work either, forget that.
That's about 67, 68. It's about time
Yeah.
she was.
Is that about
would have
right?
been, yeah. Okay. Oh, that's yeah.
He was a New York, Palm Springs family.
Yeah. So when you came to Palm Springs, you never left Palm Springs, basically?
No, last time, no. Stay.
Even when you retired, you stayed here the whole time since then. So when did you guys meet?
We met when I was 15. And
What?
When I was 15.
15?
Yes.
Wow.
It was here in Los Angeles.
Angeles.
At the United Lodge of Theosophists. We met there.
So that group is here in Palm Springs?
No, it's in Los
Oh,
Angeles.
okay. There's no
Never has been.
anything like it here.
The United Lodges are all over the world, but they're not chock-a-block in a particular city.
I see. So where'd you grow up?
Nebraska. Well, I was born in Nebraska. I grew up in Los Angeles, so I'm a California girl.
Okay. So how did you get into this philosophical outfit?
Well, my mother moved constantly, and I was going to different Sunday schools with anyone I lived near to, because it was what was happening. And I became disenchanted with Christianity because they were not making it, and they were all saying they had their truth. It was very difficult. So I was, at age 14, I was done.
What year were you born?
Pardon?
What year were you born?
33.
Okay.
I'm 11 years younger than he,
Okay.
which is why I can remember still. And I met in my art class in junior high, Carolyn, who was in that setup, and she urged me to come with them. I was delighted with the situation. I liked what they were saying. I liked the fact that it didn't matter what you did with it. They didn't want you to believe anything. It wasn't part of the experience I'd had. And they had an outdoor group, Pathfinders, here, as they did in New York. Here we did other things. We didn't have a farm, so we went to the ocean, swam, dove for abalone in Laguna, went to the mountains, and did long distance running in the mountains. It was a dynamic group. Joe was a path leader, by that because of his age. They've had 2 leaders and a small group of age-related kids. And that's where I met Joe, because he was by then there.
And this was before he went back to New York? Or had he come from New York back to California when you met him?
When I met him, he had been let out of the CPS camp
Right.
in Northern California and relocated to Southern California.
That's around 1947, 48.
It was about 47, 48.
Real.
Yeah, I was 15, as I say. Mira came from New York at a certain point, and she was very interested in Joe. He didn't really have a chance.
Poor guy.
We had a lot of fun as a group, a lot of parties. We always danced. We're good dancers. We went out dancing, we'd go to plays. People were dating in all directions. It was just a very nice group. He didn't consider me seriously as a mate because I was too young. I mean, 11 years at that point is significant. So he and Mira got together and went back to New York after he settled here with her. Didn't have enough money. Off they went. Yeah, that's right. And after that, I think I graduated from high school. We re-met years later. If you recall, he had come back to Palm Springs with his family for the reason that his oldest child had terrible asthma and she had none here. That's why they came.
Palm Springs cured her.
Cured her,
You know, bust her
essentially.
time.
Trying to remember just what happened. He and Mira got divorced. The house they built was sold a year after they built it. Too bad. It was a lovely house.
Beautiful house.
And he came to the lodge, still working here. He would go to the lodge on Sunday and participate in the events there, where we reconnected. Well, after 4 years of being separated from being married, which was great fun at the beginning. I think he was tired of it. He liked family life.
Had you gotten married in the meantime?
I had, and I had a daughter who was about 10.
What is her name?
Jamie Kendra Lane.
Where does she live?
Well, she was here for 3 years after we got married, or less. Finished high school, started junior college.
What?
Jamie. But as soon as she left, she went to the coldest places she could find in the continental U.S. She said she'd had enough sun to last her lifetime. 3 years.
In what year did she graduate from high school, from Palm Springs?
Well, 72, 73, 74 maybe. 74. When did you graduate?
60.
Well, we're thinking about our kids.
Yeah.
They were early 80s.
They were early
80s. So you're just kind of
In between. Yeah. So she left and went to northern Idaho, Seattle, and
She was up north.
she was always up north where the snow was. I couldn't imagine doing that. And settled finally in Aspen, Colorado, where she lived for quite a number of years.
So what year did you get married then?
72.
72. And then did you build another house here, or what?
We stayed in an apartment for a year. His son joined us. Actually, his son was with him. He had just graduated from high school, the youngest of the three. And he came to learn carpentry to make some money in between school years. And he became very good. But he was with his dad when we got married. So when our households came together in Palm Springs, it was Joe and I, his son, and my daughter. And it was a strange mixture. His son didn't want him to get married. My daughter didn't want to leave Santa Monica.
We went through a similar situation
Did you?
ourselves.
Well, it finally resolved, but it was a difficult summer. We came in the 1st of July. In July, my daughter knew nobody. Summertime, left her schoolmates behind, and his son was so upset to get yet another sister, and that his father had married when he was hoping to batch it with him for a while. He would have nothing to do with my daughter, so she was in a bad place that summer. So that's kind of the timing in what we did.
Oh, that's all ironed out.
Well, it's finished. The time is gone. No, you did ask the
So
question.
then did you eventually build a house then?
We were hoping to do that right away. And Joe contacted the you design houses, what are you called? Architect.
Oh, what?
The architect.
Oh,
Who had made the plan for his first house, which he liked a lot.
Do you remember the architect's name?
It'll come to me. It's been a long time since. Do you remember the architect who designed your house on?
I don't think he got that far.
Wait a minute. He designed your house on sagebrush, and then he tried to design one for us.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm trying to remember his name. He was big at the time, but he had gone into drugs, and he kind of fizzled out after that and left town. Don't remember his name. Did nice work.
Alexander, was it?
It wasn't, no. Short name. What he did was he came up with a house, but not what Joe asked for and not what I asked for. He delegated it, and he wasn't good at it. He ended up with some elements in Joe's first house, which were expensive, and we didn't want them. And they did not.
Wish I could hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, that's he's down one hearing aid.
Working, but
Why don't you guys switch
Okay,
sides?
let's switch places.
Yeah.
It'll work better for you. Okay?
Yeah.
Because that's
I wish
where-
I'd have known that. I should have sat on the other side of him too.
Yeah, I know, it's so
Oh,
hard.
well.
Do you want me to move or him to move?
No, why don't you? No, no,
You
you just you.
move,
You can move your
That's
camera
good.
all
That'd
around.
be-
You're
yeah,
my
yeah.
right ear.
Yeah.
Okay, better now, huh?
All right, good.
Especially when I talk right into it. And he didn't give me my separate dining room. So, he also did not give me my window over the sink, which is all I asked for. So we scotched it and looked for already built houses, because at that point in '73, building became incredibly expensive. It was going like this, new construction. So we looked all over town. We went way down valley. We couldn't find anything suitable, but we finally did. It's here in Palm Springs on East Palo Verde Avenue, near Mesquite and South Palm Canyon. It's become a very desirable part of town. It's called Talquitz River Estates something or other. For some reason it has become very desirable. It was a large, roomed, spacious, 3-bedroom. And it pleased us in many ways. And it had a window over the sink and a separate dining room. There was one other thing. Oh, what was that? It was a custom house. Someone had built it, and it just pleased us.
No one had lived in it before.
Oh yes, we
Oh,
were
there.
the
I mean, you were the first ones to live
fourth people. It had been there 10 years, and we were the fourth
it.
people
Oh, the fourth.
to buy it. Just amazing. The real estate agent had come the week before. She'd listed the house, told him to cut the palm trees, trim the palm trees that were lining the driveway oddly, trim them down. The trimmings were on the ground when she showed it to us. We were the first people to see it. We bought it just like that. I mean, it had a hallway you could actually fit down.
You still have it?
We still have it. We've been there since '73. It's 45, 6 years now. We put a pool in, and we're maintaining it, but we're not in it.
Did you ever work, or did you work in the business too, or?
I never did. I worked up until I married Joe, and then I did not work.
What kind of work did you do?
Office work. Southern California Edison Company, notably.
And so what do you guys do to keep yourself occupied these days?
Well, I chase my tail. I never catch up. We no longer do the entire work in the garden, which was incredible. We put in a lot of stuff, and we had to work really hard to maintain it.
You have a big yard then?
Pretty big yard. At one point, Joe had a stint at the hospital years ago. I don't know why it was, but I was there mowing the lawn, working the vegetable garden, cleaning the pool, washing the cars. I was racing around visiting him at the hospital. When he got home, I said, Joe, you have a choice. We move to a condominium or we get a gardener.
We got in the garden.
Garden.
And a pool man. Fabulous.
Yeah.
So I just, we go to see a lot of doctors. 1, 2 a day. You can count on it.
I don't know why, but she goes.
Well, if it's one thing, it's another. You know, new hearing aids or chiropractors, and so I don't have much time.
Now, do you still go into LA to the philosophical place like you used to?
No, newly we don't. For some years, we went in together on Sunday morning, came back Sunday night.
Were the people from years ago that you, like when you were a kid, were any of them still involved in it?
Well, the people we knew there who haven't died yet are all still involved there. However, the part of town went downhill.
Where was it? What part of town?
It's near USC. and that's an area in
Yes.
transition. But when they put in the San Pedro Freeway, they cut the place in half, only a couple of blocks away, and it changed the environment so that Joe's kids didn't bring their kids to Theosophy School even though they lived in Los Angeles. So that made a
They had a
break.
school?
Sunday school
A Sunday school.
in the morning.
And it was a structure,
Quite a nice one, built in the 30s, I think. The people who were involved in its being able to be made mortgaged their homes.
Is that when it originated in the 1930s?
No, the Theosophy, with its information, came in 1875, right along in there, New York. In New York. And there was a New York lodge, and then it relocated in significant ways to Los Angeles. Los Angeles is now considered the Mother Lodge. It was kind of where things are
The
decided.
lodge that you go to is
Yeah.
the one you're talking about.
It's quite a lovely structure, just perfect for the
So in Theosophy, I guess you could, if you were to define it, it's the philosophy of God or philosophy of a
Okay,
higher
yeah.
power or something like that.
You're
I mean,
looking at the word derivation.
I'm looking at the word. Yeah, theo means
Knowledge of God.
knowledge of God.
Okay. Well, their concept of God is very,
Nebulous.
it's very nebulous. It's you can't know it, you can't see it, you can't describe it, but it is there.
In each one of us, that's how.
And we're all
We are at that point that we call us.
so we are of it. We are all God in that way. And you can't petition. This is not a man-like God. You can't petition this one. You're in charge of your what you
Destiny.
of your destiny. And they work in the concept of reincarnation and karma. You set up certain actions. You become a certain kind of person. And you can, your job, it appears, is to improve that and to think more in terms of the whole of life, since you are of it. So they're very interested in the concept of brotherhood, which is one reason that some of the people from the lodge became conscientious objectors. Your job is to, in thought and deed, be contributing to the brotherhood of all living things. It's somewhat amorphous, this whole concept. You get down to the practicality of it, is you actually are responsible for you make your own decisions. Those
You make
decisions,
your own destiny.
and you have,
Every human being can't blame anybody else for what they are.
and this plays out over time in reincarnation. You're the kind of person you are because of the kind of person you were. Your connections are with the people you need to resolve connections with from before. If you're born into a certain family, it's exactly where you ought to be. So, and what you do with your life is your project.
Why are we going through all this?
He asked about it.
Yeah, trying to
It's-
learn something.
It's a bootstraps kind of thing.
So, what is the thought of afterlife, or is there a thought about afterlife?
Yeah.
The thought about afterlife,
Oh,
that would be between lives, what happens. And
we sleep.
it's like nighttime. You're awake in the daytime, you sleep at night. But if you're looking at temporal world, time actually does pass there. It takes a while to kind of use up the energy that you engendered in your life, and when the time is right, you're born again. There are states of consciousness involved in that. One is a very high level. There's much talk about the spiritual life, the soul, the higher self. So that distills during that period of time. And you digest, in a sense, the experiences that you've had at that level. And then you're born again. And you don't ever stop. It's quite,
Isn't that nice?
it's a very interesting,
That'd be pretty
it's a
nice,
very
huh?
interesting thing. It appeals in some ways to the logical mind. In other ways, it's amazingly strange. And like the Indians, most of the American Indians,
Well, they believed in an afterlife.
yes, but they have the sense that everything is one. They're part of nature. The Hopi Indians say, the tree is watching us. The clouds are watching us. So their decisions, connections, are more global, more concerned about other than self and family. So I would say it was somewhat similar to that.
By the way, you were mentioning earlier about, I think his son, were you in Hawaii or something, and he was putting
I
together
know
his
it's here.
history.
The book is right here.
Okay, yeah, let me see.
Took him to Hawaii for 1 week and asked him all the questions he thought would be interesting about his life.
Uh-huh.
That's a picture of him. When was that?
I don't know.
Graduated high school? I
Pretty-
think it's right about there.
Kind of, I think it's a.
Well,
I think it looks like a movie star from
Doesn't he
back in
though?
the 30s.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Guy.
does. Wow, I can see why you were smitten when you were 15.
Well, he was a good dancer. I didn't
Oh,
ask
just-
much then. During that week,
So I guess this philosophy, I mean, dancing and all this stuff is fine. I mean, there's no.
oh no, everything's fine. And what I liked about this particular setup,
Philosophical thought.
right, setup when I first encountered it was, first the information was interesting and an improvement over what I had been exposed to. And it was presented as information. There were books, you could read more about it. There were classes, you could study more about it. What you did with it was absolutely your business. And it didn't matter what you did, that was your business. So that made it doubly appealing.
No pressure.
It's a philosophical approach in a way, if you look at it in a certain way. So his son, who is good at this kind of thing, did that for him while he, it wasn't too long ago, actually, when they did that. Maybe, well, he prepared it for his 95th birthday, so it would have been maybe a
Couple
year or
years
two,
ago, okay.
perhaps before then. that
And you were in Hawaii at the time?
He and his son, just for a week, went there.
Is that right? And what part of Hawaii?
I didn't hear.
The Big Island. His daughter
On the Big Island?
His daughter has a partial ownership of a condo there, and whenever the family is said to be in Hawaii, that's where they are.
Did you guys travel much during your married life?
Did you hear that?
Did you travel much?
Somewhat.
What do you remember? The trips you liked?
I don't. You tell them.
First trip was England. Remember that
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
British
Then we went through Europe and all that nonsense.
Takes care of that. We went to the British Isles on a 3-week tour, land tour. And the first trip we'd ever taken overseas, and we just thought it was the trip of a lifetime. All the stuff we learned about in our history classes. By that time we were both college graduates, having finished college as adults. way into adulthood. And his kids said, if you're going to go that far, go to Paris. So we did a week in Paris. That was
Lovely city.
that was our first, and we, by that, all we needed was one trip and we were hooked. So we went many times back. Fascinating trip. Sometimes we drove, sometimes we were on we were on tours much. Mostly we were on our own. We spent a month in
Florence.
where?
Florence?
Florence, that's the name
Oh,
of
yeah.
it. With a group. Fabulous. It was called Art, Music, and Culture in Florence for a month. Can you imagine? And we took one trip to, it was 9 weeks when he was 70. His kids gave him a little cruise on the Moselle River
Yeah, that was very nice.
as his 70th birthday gift.
River cruise then.
Yeah, it was a short one, and it was more interesting than most. For the rest, we drove and visited people we had met hiking in the southwest, in southern France, spent some time there for 2 weeks, and then we drove to Paris and were with a language abroad program for 1 month. I tested too well and I spent way too much time in classrooms, but he didn't, so he got more time to live it up. And then we went from there to
Don't ask me,
Oh,
I don't remember.
that was the trip on the Moselle.
Oh, yeah.
We,
Oh, the Moselle.
and that got us onto the Rhine. Is that what they've got there? Which took
Probably.
and dumped us at Cologne, which is in Germany. Is that in
Yes,
Germany?
it is Germany.
And we took a train down to visit. You're following this on the map, are you, with my hand? Down to southern Germany to visit people we had met on a previous trip in Germany for 2 weeks. And we came home. That was a huge trip. You can
I
see
wonder how they are.
they're good. They're fatter, but they're good. And other trips, very nice trips. I really miss that. I don't miss the airplane, getting there and back. The last time I came back, I said, this is the last time I'm going to go over the Atlantic, this is it. But then I wanted to go. In 3 years, I was ready to go. Did you have a favorite trip, Joe?
All of them were favorites for me.
We were driving one time. That was a 3-week driving trip.
It was quite a trip.
We were offered the car from a couple we had met at the Grand Canyon, where I had suggested they come to Palm Springs. But no, they couldn't fit it into that trip. Well, I said, well, come another time. Here's my information. They just call us anytime. I was trying to get friends in Europe. And sure enough, that spring, he sent us information about his nearby town and a cover letter and said, come and visit us and you can use my car. That's based on about a 15-minute conversation. We did. I got on that as fast as I could go, and we drove through some of the country. They made us make a side trip to Venice. You've got to see Venice, he said, Venice. So we did that. And 1 week in northern France. I definitely wanted to go there. And that's the point of my story. Because we were driving along from one thing to another, and I knew I was going to Mont Saint-Michel, but I had no idea what that meant. Everything was new. I didn't read about anything before I went to Europe. And we're driving over this flat area, and I saw this little thing sticking up.
Open the distance.
You remember that? And we were driving some more, and it got bigger, and I said, what is that over there? Finally, I said, oh, Do you think it's most same show?
Those were good days.
Yeah, we love that place. Super place.
What are you carrying that for?
Well, they were going to see the book that your son made.
Oh,
That was of interest. And your
Do
picture.
you remember when he made that book?
pardon
Do
me?
you remember when he made that book?
Not really. I was my 95th, so,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, 4 years ago? 3
One.
years?
One.
1 year.
Well, you've got a lot of information. If you ask a question, you've got lots of information.
Yeah, I'll make some copies of that for us.
The picture.
Pictures.
I brought it because I thought you might like
I
the
would like to
picture.
do that.
You want more pictures? You got nothing but pictures in here. But
Yeah. I'll go. Oh, you brought other pictures besides the book?
well, I did. Most
Okay.
of them are embodied in here.
Okay.
but
Well,
they
we'll,
were-
we'll go through them.
Okay, they were related to his CO experience, just a little sector, but the rest are all in here.
Okay, we might be getting close to wrapping it up. Any parting thoughts?
Any parting thoughts?
Any parting friends?
Parting thoughts?
Have you had
Oh,
a
parting
have you
thoughts.
had a good time today?
Yeah.
I had a great time. I just love to talk.
Well, that's why I married her. So I had somebody to express my thoughts.
That was why.
She's pretty good at it.
I thought it had something to do with the kitchen.
The kitchen window.
Oh yeah, partly that. It's been a long time. I realized when we'd been married 40 years, I was 80. It just worked that way.
God, you're old.
God. But I didn't say, God, you're old. I said, I can't believe I've been married for half my life. You can build up, the same house, the same view out the window over the kitchen sink. It's incredible how much the same 40 years could be. Think about the first 40 years of your life, characterized by innovation, things unexpected, change, so interesting. 5 years more.
At least.
How are we getting to all this?
Well, I just want to thank you so much for
Oh.
giving this opportunity to us.
Well, Joe, I want to thank you so much. I want to thank you for your service to our country, for taking care of those forests during that time. They didn't all burn down. I really appreciate all you've done and what you've
You're
done
welcome.
for here in Palm Springs, too. Thanks for sharing with us. Joan, thank you for bringing him in, and thanks for sharing with us.
You're so
appreciate
welcome.
it. Okay.